Hey plant friends! So today I decided I'm gonna stray a little bit away from your typical houseplants and actually show you my orchid collection. I have, I think, 15 of them, which I'm very happy about. I did become a little bit obsessed with them this year after I was able to keep my first Phalaenopsis alive. I've tried in the past and I've killed like maybe 3 or 4 of them, but I think I have it down now. So I just wanted to show you all my orchids. I do have 2 that are still coming in the mail. I just ordered them this week, so I think I'll just post pictures of what those are supposed to look like. I'm gonna start with the very first one that I have and go in order from there. All right. Okay, so the first orchid on the list is this Ludicea discolor, or your jewel orchid. It looks really funky and doesn't look very healthy right now. I believe this is going on 3 years old now. It used to have 4 stems, and I have had a lot of trouble actually keeping this alive. It'd probably do a lot better in a terrarium. And I didn't think to put it in my little terrarium when I set it up, which now that I'm thinking about it, I might just do that just because it's really struggling and I've lost 2 of the stems. And actually it was doing really well at first until I decided to chop it and propagate. And after that, it just kind of went downhill from there. But as you can see, it is growing a new leaf right there. Although this back one, this older one, is on its way out. And then these ones are 2 new baby leaves. It is in sphagnum moss just to kind of keep the roots more moist. These jewel orchids are more whatchamacallit. They are not epiphytes. So they do like their roots a little bit more moist. Not soggy, but just a little bit more moist. So yeah, that's my Ludicea discolor. And next up is my Phalaenopsis orchid. I got this in February, and this is actually the very first, aside from my Ludicea, of course, the very first epiphytic orchid that I've been able to keep alive and what started the obsession. This one I just got from my local grocery store. I will insert a picture somewhere to the side or in the corner of what the flowers look like. I do only have 1 orchid right now that is in bloom. All the other ones used to have blooms. Well, not all of them, but most of them had blooms, and they have since fallen off. So this one had a peachy, orangey bloom on it, and it was really pretty. So I'll insert a picture of that. And most of my orchids are in moss. I followed Miss Orchid Girl's tutorial on how to transfer orchids in moss into moss, and I actually do like that a lot better. But this one is actually doing really good in leca, and my watering schedule for it is I just wait until the roots are silver before I water it again. I've just recently watered this, so the roots are still green and plump. So I know I just keep an eye on it. I know that once it starts turning silver, that it's almost time to water it again. And so far I've been successful doing it that way. It does have a new leaf coming out right there in the center. I kind of got it a little bit burnt because it was too close to the window. But it is still growing. And I am hoping, these are some of the older roots, that's why they look all dried out. I am hoping that I can get this to bloom again, hopefully this year, if not then next year. And my next orchid is a dendrobium. It's called a Dendrobium Jacqueline Thomas, who I think is the hybridizer or breeder of this orchid, and its name is the Uniwai Mist. This one I haven't actually seen what the blooms are in person, I'll insert a picture of what they're supposed to look like. I did order this online, and it didn't have any blooms. See, I don't know if you can... It's kind of hard to see the name because the seller wrote it in pencil, but I'll put the name up here on the bottom. And this one is actually doing really well. It is in moss. I started in leca and it didn't like it too much. So the leca is just on top, just to kind of keep the moss from drying out too quickly. And it's just in moss, and you can see there's a root already sticking out. And there's a new growth right there. And I also see another new growth right there. So I'm really excited that this is actually growing really well. And there is the name of the store, the shop that I ordered it from. Let me see if I can get it to focus. No. But it's called houseplants.com. They do have their own website, but I ordered mine from Etsy. So if you wanted to check them out. So there's my very first dendronbium. Alright, up next is a Phalaenopsis. This is a bulldog hybrid, which are the ones that have the really big, kind of more squarish flowers on them. This is called the Bison City bulldog orchid, and it is a cross between a Duncan York and the Pacific Ocean. Like I said before, I'll insert a picture of what the bloom is supposed to look like. So my very first path, it did lose a couple of the older leaves after it got to me, I think just from the shipping stress. There's a new leaf that's coming out now. This is also from Bartrop Plants. I ordered it the same time as the dendronbium that I have. And I think it's just not going to focus on the tags just because the tags are white and the light is just washing out the lettering on it. But yeah, this is doing really well, and I love how shiny the leaves are. Oh, I just wanted to add on. So, like my other ones, this is also in moss. Phalaenopsis tend to like a little bit more of a more moist soil than your epiphytic orchids. Their roots are kind of more of a like a brownish, kind of really fuzzy. They're not terrestrial orchids per se, I don't believe. I might be wrong on that. But they do like to have their roots a little bit more moist. Okay, so this next one, it's kind of in a funny, it's not really a pot, it's just a plastic container, an old plastic container for dates. And I couldn't find a big enough see-through plastic container that I can put this Vanda in. So this is a Vanda orchid, and this is the one that has the bluish purplish flowers. It's called Robert's Delight, and I actually ordered this from Hawaii. And I think so. I'll put a picture of what it originally looked like and how much roots it had. I mean, it was insane. This thing was ginormous. The roots were almost like 4 or 5 feet long. I'm not even kidding. But a majority of them did end up getting severely dehydrated during the trip from Hawaii to here. And it was in the middle of the summer too, so it didn't help that it was like 100-something degrees here. I did try to rehydrate it by soaking it in water for 20 minutes every single day, which was quite a hassle, but a lot of them just ended up just drying out and dying off, so I ended up cutting most of them off. I do have some healthy thick roots left right there, and there's some right there. It is in leca, but I only put a little bit of water in the very bottom just to kind of keep it hydrated, and it has gotten a lot better since. It's put out this it's kind of heavy. It's put out this new leaf for me since I got it, and Like when it first got here, the bottom leaves were very wrinkly, and I did lose one that had turned yellow. It's a lot less wrinkly now, so I know that it's liking that it's not really soaking in water all the time, but it does, sit in there for a few days until the water completely evaporates. Vandas don't really like being in water all the time, so that's why I only put a little bit of water in there, and I only do that once a week. So the flowers on this are supposed to be really pretty. I'll put another picture up. So I can't wait. Hopefully I'll get it to bloom. Okay, so up next is an oncidium. I got this from another grocery store here, not the same one that I got from the my Phalaenopsis from, but I had never seen our grocery store sell anything other than phals, and so when I saw this, I had to grab it. This is an Oncidium catante. I believe this is the Pacific sunspots, and I'll post a picture up on top again to show you what the blooms look like. I just fell in love with the little tiny blooms. They are called the dancing ladies, and you can see from the blooms why they're called that. They just look like little women wearing fluffy dresses dancing. So this is my very first oncidium. They do have pseudobulbs, and I know they look really dehydrated because they're wrinkly, but I don't think they are. Just because I have had these two new growths right here since I got them, and it is in moss as well, and I think it's doing really well. The blooms did stay with me for about a couple of weeks after I got it. I'm not sure how long it had been in bloom when I got it, so hopefully it blooms again. I don't think that oncidiums bloom on a schedule like phals do, so hopefully I can get it to bloom eventually. And the next one is another oncidium. I don't know what the name of this one is. It didn't have a tag aside from that it's an oncidium. But it did have maroon and gold flowers on it. And you can see it has the plump pseudobulbs on there again. They're a little bit wrinkly like the other one, but I have had new growth with it. Like this is a new growth right here. This one was a lot smaller when I got it, so I know it's growing, so I know it's not like dehydrated like it looks like. Here's another new growth right there too. And I got this one because I went to Arizona State University, and their colors are maroon and gold, so I thought it was perfect that the flowers on this were maroon and gold. And that's all there is to it. And next is a Phalaenopsis. Well, it's actually a Dorytenopsis. It's a Phalaenopsis hybrid. And this one is called Fuller's Clown. And it had, I believe the flowers were kind of a light purple. I don't remember. It had fallen off a long time ago, and I've already cut the spikes off. As you can see, there's a spike, the old spike down in there. But there's the tag, and you can't see it as usual. I liked this one. I got this one from Lowe's, and I like this one because the backs of the leaves, the abaxials, have kind of like a maroonish, purplish tint to it. They're like spots on the leaves, and I think that's really cool. Yeah. So this one, when I first got this leaf right here used to be a lot smaller, like probably up to here, so it's grown a lot since then. This one is in moss instead of leca because I did struggle with it at first, and I thought that I was gonna lose it, so I ended up chopping off all the rotted roots and just rehabilitating it in moss, and I think it's doing a lot better. This bottom leaf right here used to be limp, and it's definitely improved a lot, so I know. Plus this one has grown a lot too, so I know it's doing a lot better. Okay, this next funny looking one is called a Rhynchostylus gigantea, or the Dalmatian orchid, because the flowers have spots on them. I got this without when it wasn't in bloom, so I'll insert a picture of what it's supposed to look like. So this is a Rhynchostylus gigantea cross. I believe the hybrid name is a cartoon. And this one kind of looks a little bit sad because it didn't do too well at all in shipping. It's still a little bit wet because I just watered it today. But this leaf, oops, it's dripping everywhere. This leaf right here had cracked. Sorry, I can't see. It had cracked in shipping. It has healed, but it kind of looks sad now. And then this one was bent in the box, so I just ended up cutting off the part that was yellow, and it had another leaf down here that had fallen off when I got it. So it got really beat up in shipping. So I think it's gonna be a while before it does anything for me. I have it in moss just to kind of rehabilitate it, and hopefully it comes back strong and grows some new roots and some new leaves. This one is it's kind of more like a vanda in a sense. It's an epiphyte, but because I'm trying to, it's kind of like a rescue orchid by the time that it got to me, and I'm trying to kind of just care for it really well. I'm trying to keep the roots moist so that it'll grow some new ones. That's why I have it in moss for now. Eventually, once it gets bigger and better, then I'll probably transfer it to leca. But you can kind of see the outline of one of the roots in there. And this next one is the only Cattleya that I have. And I know Cattleyas are supposed to be one of the easier orchids, but I'm really struggling with this one. Well, it didn't really start off too hot when I got it. I ordered it from an Etsy shop as well. I got it from the same shop as the Rhynchostylus gigantea and a couple of other orchids that I had gotten from there. And this one was super limp when I got it. This leaf was bent completely over, like almost in half, and you can see where it's cracked right there. It has healed, but I do have it tied to this stake right here, because if it gets too dehydrated, it does start leaning over again. So I think it's just gonna have to stay staked like that. And it's doing okay. I did just recently transfer it to moss, which the moss looks kind of dried out, needs to be watered again. But this is called an RLC Siam Fancy. It's a Rhyncholaleo Cattleya hybrid. So basically it's just a Cattleya hybrid, hybridized with a couple of other kinds of orchids, but they essentially have the same cares as all Cattleyas. They like to be very dry, and I think that I did end up making this a little bit too dry because the leaves do feel kind of rough. So hopefully it being in moss will help with that, although I don't keep the moss too moist with this one. And like with the other ones, I'll insert a photo of what the bloom is supposed to look like. It was not in bloom when I got this. So the next one is another Phalaenopsis, or I'm not sure actually if this is a Phalaenopsis, like my other one from Lowe's. This one is from Safeway, a grocery store. The only reason I'm saying it might be kind of like the one from Lowe's is because the backs of the leaves have the same coloration, that same purplish tint on the back. Like, look at that. It doesn't, the camera doesn't really do it justice, but it's a lot more purple than what it's showing. So this one has purple flowers, and I wanted that because my grandma's favorite orchid color, orchid bloom color was purple. So I wanted something that had purple in it. And yeah, I had actually just transferred it to Leka a couple days ago. Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago. Because I was waiting for the very last bloom to fall off. I don't typically like to repot my orchids until all the blooms have fallen off, and this one did take a long time. So I finally cut the spike off, and there's a spike right there, and it has a brand new leaf coming out. So yeah, hopefully it takes to Leka without any problems. But it does have really healthy roots. So let me see if I can take it out. But yeah, you can see the roots right there. Yeah. These roots right here were already that way when I got it. But they're not mushy or anything, so I didn't cut them off. Sometimes if you leave the more drier roots on the orchids, actually kind of helps to keep them a little bit stable, as long as they're not mushy or rotting. Sometimes I just like to leave them there to kind of have a little bit more of an anchor in the Leka. Alright, so my next one is this Paphiopedilum. It's called a macabre charisma, and this is the very first orchid to bloom in my care, and I'm so proud of it. And look at how gorgeous this flower is. Kind of a little bit weird, but it's gorgeous. And this one is going to be opening this week, within the next few days. I was surprised with how slowly the blooms opened, though. They did take their time. But I don't know if the camera can capture that, but it has fuzz. It has like little hairs, like almost like eyelashes on this part of the flower, the petal. And then the inside looks really interesting. Can you see that? Like, oops. It's like a maroonish, pinkish inside with like spots. And it looks like it's hairy inside too. So this is a lady, the Paphiopedilums are called lady slipper orchids because you can see, especially if you're looking at it from the side, they kind of look like slippers. Especially those, have you seen those old school Chinese slippers? They kind of have that same shape. But yeah, that's why they're called lady slipper orchids. And I just love the way that these flowers look. So the leaves on this are kind of funky. I ordered this online as well. And I thought at first I was going to lose this orchid because it really didn't do too well in shipping. And all the leaves, I mean like all of them, were just falling over and limp. And you can see some of them have kind of stayed that way. This one is actually just a little bit damaged from shipping. This is all from shipping. But they came back. Granted, they're kind of misshapen. This one tends to fall over a lot. That's why I have it staked. But once I let it get some water, they all perked back up and gave me these two blooms. So, and then it has this new growth right here as well. So yeah, now I am obsessed with Paphiopedilums. And I want more and more of them. This one actually came out a little bit lighter than what it's supposed to. I'll insert a picture of what it's supposed to look like. It was really dark. That was the only reason that I got this kind, this hybrid, is because I liked how dark the flowers looked in the picture. But they came out a lot lighter for me. I'm not sure if it has to do with lighting or what, but it's okay. I like the light pink shade right there, and as long as it's blooming, I'm happy. And last but not least is this funny looking orchid. This is another dendrobium. It is a cross between a super nester pink and a Rhodopterygium SACH number 4. I ordered this from the same place and at the same time as the Paphiopedilum that I just showed you guys. I don't think I can show you. I don't think I'll catch any of the labels that I show, so I'm not even gonna bother anymore. But it was growing this way when I got it. I'm assuming that the seller had it in front of a window and never rotated it, and so they all kind of grew that way. I have been trying to turn it the other way, away from the light, so that way it's gonna start turning all this way. But it is taking a long time. I have it in moss as well. And it is growing new roots for me. Like, these are new. All these inside are new. There's one right there as well. And new leaves as well, like this one right here. And that one right there. So the flowers in this are really cute. I believe they're the fuzzy or fluffy kind, and that's why I ordered it. I'll insert another picture off to the side somewhere. So yeah, I can't wait until this blooms in my care, and hopefully it'll start turning the other way. And although I kind of like how weird it looks, turned bent all the way over to the other side like that, it's fine as long as it's alive and it's healthy. So the next two photos that I'm gonna insert here are the ones that I'm waiting on. They're supposed to be coming sometime probably early next week, just because it's the weekend. I doubt that they're gonna deliver this week. One of them actually hasn't even shipped, so I'm not sure when I'm gonna get that one. So the first one is the Phalaenopsis giganteum, and it's a cross between a caudatum and a grande vista. And a fragment, I'm sorry if I'm like just butchering these names. Phalaenopedium is kind of like a Paphiopedilum in a sense. This one that I got doesn't have the spots on it, but it has almost similar lady slipper like blooms, except the side petals are long and almost curly. So that's why I got that one, because I really like the way that the blooms looked. And I'll show you a picture of it off here to the side. So that one I'll probably do like a short video unboxing or something once I get it. I don't believe it's in bloom when I ordered it. And then the other one that I'm waiting on is a Phalaenopsis, and it's a variegated Phalaenopsis, and the hybrid is called a Chia Yenlin. And I have a picture, I'll post a picture up here of what the bloom is supposed to look like, as well as what the leaves look like. And I've been looking for a variegated one for a while, and I'm glad that I finally got that one. And then I wanted to show you pictures of the last three orchids that recently just died on me. So one of the older ones that I got is this big dendrobium. It's called the Kyle Quintal. It wasn't in bloom, and when I got it, I was surprised by how big it was. Unfortunately, when I repotted it, it was severely root bound, and I had a very hard time getting it out of the pot. And when I did unpot it, a lot of the roots were super dry or rotting. It's like a mixture of like dried up old roots as well as like rotting roots. So it really seemed like it's just been there for a very long time, wasn't really taken care of very well. I tried to rehabilitate it in moss, and I cut off all the dead roots, put some cinnamon on it so it wouldn't rot, and it lived for a little bit. I would say maybe a couple months, until finally, like, I started seeing spots on the leaves, and the leaves were turning yellow and crispy, and so I figured it's either got some kind of disease or it's just really not doing well. When I took it out of the moss, I did notice that there was a lot more rotting going on, so I ended up just throwing the whole thing away. And then the other two were mini orchids that died within I don't even think it lasted a month with me. The first one is a Chyloscista lunifera. It's also called a leafless orchid because they literally just look like green roots. I'll post a picture of what it looked like when I got it, and it did okay for a couple of weeks. I had it in a little terrarium, but I just could not keep up with the moss. It literally would dry out every 2-3 days, and if I forgot to spray it with water to keep it moist, even though it was in a terrarium, it would just dry out, and then the roots slowly started drying out and falling off, and so eventually there was nothing left because it was such a small orchid to begin with. And then the last one is a mini Phalaenopsis. It's called the mini Mark Home, and the bloom on this was supposed to be so cute, and that was the reason why I got it. Of course, it wasn't in bloom when I got it. It was in a moss. It was mounted on a piece of wood, as you can see in the picture. And it did a lot worse than the leafless orchid. I had it in the same terrarium. I was trying to keep it moist every 2 or 3 days, but when you get busy, you can't always be spraying down your plants to keep them moist. And so that one actually dried out a lot faster, and it made me sad because I really wanted to see the bloom on it. But I think that those are the last mini mounted orchids that I'm going to be buying, just because they're a lot more work than they're worth, and definitely a lot more work than the other orchids. So yeah, those are, I believe that is 15. I didn't really count. Those are all my orchids. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing them. Tell me in the comments how many of you have orchids, or if you've tried keeping them and if you were successful or not. And let me know if you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and if you haven't already and you enjoy content like this, don't forget to subscribe, and I'd love to have you in my future videos. I'd love to have you watching my future videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Till next time, bye.